Today's episode is sponsored to you by A&H Provisions. Meat and hot dogs that are so good, even Goyim understand how amazing they are. It's the next level of kosher food, and the website is kosherdogs.net. Get yours, enjoy them, A&H Provisions. Welcome to And Here's Modi. Hi, everybody. Hi, and hi.
Hello.
Hi to all our guests. We are back in the studio. We, of course, right at the top, thank our sponsors, our partners, our collaborative people. We have A&H Provisions, the best, I don't know if you know this to our guest, Rachael, the best kosher hot dogs and kosher meats.
I've heard about it from you. I've heard about it.
Glad kosher.
Amazing.
Website is
kosherdogs.net. It was 4th of July not that long ago, and we got a huge package.
Yes, we did.
Which even my Goyim friend enjoyed.
Seth, we have a freezer full of hot dogs, and we're bringing them out to Fire Island next time we're out there.
and we'll do content with that. Yeah, we're gonna bring it all. Jake Cohen will cook up a whole bunch of stuff.
That's
and
cute.
Whites in Luxembourg, the amazing law firm that you always want on your side, the law firm that while they're doing well, they're also doing good. They're very philanthropic and involved in all kinds of amazing and unbelievable charities and organizations, and they're just amazing. Arthur Luxembourg is a big fan of the podcast and a good friend, and we always thank them. And now we have a guest in the house, and
Very
as you all know,
Please welcome.
the
Rachael.
introduction is always done by Periel.
Voila. Rachael Fried. Hi, Rachael.
Hello, thank
Hi,
you.
Rachael.
Hi, Rachael. She's the executive director of JQY, and you should visit them at jqy.org.
What is JQI?
Jewish Queer Youth. It's a nonprofit that supports and empowers LGBTQ youth with a focus on those from Orthodox, Chassidic, and Sephardic Mizrahi homes. It's a drop-in. There's a drop-in center at Times Square. I don't need to say what the operating budget is, do I? No.
No, that's okay.
She is committed to ensuring that the voices of queer Jewish individuals are heard and celebrated.
Okay.
So that's Mashiach energy.
And you were both on the 36 to watch list.
Oh, that's
on,
right.
Indeed, we were. I missed you at the party.
I was working.
What was it? Jewish?
The
what?
Jewish Week.
Jewish Week.
The Jewish
Yes.
Week had the top 36 people to watch.
Us
and both
and
of
Barry Manilow together.
Barry Manilow was there.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow
So
was a
He
part of
wasn't
it?
there, but he was on the list with us. So I feel like it's, yeah.
That's a good list.
It's an
36
amazing list to
under
watch. I hope you've been watching him. Barry Manilow's been around forever.
Love
He's on
Barry.
the to watch list.
Yeah.
Under 36.
So are you.
He's in a New York to watch list specifically.
I'm on I thought it was 36 because that's your age is under
Yeah, that's what
36.
I thought.
Oh,
too.
yeah, right. That
Okay,
too.
okay.
It used to be 36 under 36.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Now
it's
So
it's
give us
just
a
now
little
it's
bit.
36 to watch.
What's your background? Where are you from?
all right. I
all right.
grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, tiny out-of-town little Orthodox community. I went to Yeshiva University for 12 years in a row, from high school through grad school.
Wow.
So big,
And those of you who I didn't do the biology,
Biography.
the biography because as you know, I'm dyslexic and a mess. But when you read her bio, she has like a fellowship in every single university, every type of awards that they give to study more, they gave her. Me, they paid me to leave school. Here's a degree. Please just go away. Just go away. She's the opposite. They gave her awards and degrees and fellowships and shkoyach. Good
Thank
for
you,
you.
thank you.
Congratulations.
was only a few, but thank you.
Yeah.
So I high school. I went to high school in Central, which is University High School.
So you grew up religious.
I grew up religious.
You went to YU, which is Yeshiva University.
Yeah, I went to the Yeshiva University High School for girls. Then I went to
Okay.
Stern College for women.
Right.
Wow.
After I went to Israel for Shana Aleph and Bet, so 2 years.
2 years
in
you did in
Israel.
Israel.
Avid.
And then I went to YU's social work school.
Okay.
Wow.
And then I went to Parsons just to like get out of the YU world for a little.
Wow.
And were you like fully observant or religious? Like, did you like fit in, or was it like, why am I in here? Or what?
Yeah, I definitely I fit in. I was the president of student council at Stern, so I was like,
Were you out when you were?
I was not out.
You were
at
not
Stern.
out.
I was like I sort of was just coming out to myself when I was in Shana Bet at my second year in Israel, which was not great timing to come out.
Could you
for myself.
imagine being the president of the student thing? You know how many emails are involved in that?
Yeah. I used to get so,
Do you have any idea sending in this and a poster and the printer?
How long
and
do you think-
I couldn't.
It's not so different from being executive director. I feel like
No,
I've had some practice.
good
I love it. I love it. It's
How many emails do you think it would take before you just started ignoring
I
all
would
of
ignore
them?
the first one. Hey, let's have a meeting. Nah, let's not have a meeting.
Yeah.
No, but good for you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. No, I do. I relate to the emails. Yeah, thank you. So I was like not only a part of the really a part of the student body, but I was the president of student
You
council.
were running
Amazing.
it.
Yeah, and it's
Amazing.
interesting. Sometimes I think that a kind of form of outsiderness is leadership. Like I think I sort of gravitated towards places to positions of power, I guess, or positions that were above the rest of the community because I felt like something is different about me and kind of like on the outside. And I was like, I could either be a wallflower on the side who doesn't really know, who's not really part of things, or I can be on top of
Directing
everyone and
things.
leading everything and who's not really fully part of things either. So
That's an interesting
It's a
way.
very
to look at it.
interesting
almost a
way to
coping mechanism, I think.
It is. It's like you're almost watching it from the outside. You're like a guest looking in almost. You're an invited guest. You know, there's an expression in Yiddish, a gasta for while, zesta for mile. When you have a guest for a while, they see for miles. They see things that people don't see. So that's an amazing analogy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting.
And then I read the 20, what's it called?
23andMe.
No, stop.
I did that also. Yeah.
When they gave me the information about you, they sent me those 20 principles of
The statement of principles.
statement of principles.
Yes.
Which I'm not crazy about. They were great, and great that they got rabbis, and it's a move towards it. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was actually a long time ago. Actually, I don't remember what year it was.
2010.
Long ago.
2010. Okay, so
Oh, wow.
13 years ago. And in the like LGBTQ, I don't know, world of how things are going, 13 years ago is like, I don't know,
1,000
it's,
years.
yeah,
Okay,
1,000 years.
good, yeah.
So it's, I would say pretty outdated.
Okay.
I haven't read it
Yeah.
in like 11 years maybe.
Right.
So I can't like fully.
You kind of jumped in as the, like, you didn't really explain what that was, but we don't have to dwell on that. Like,
Okay.
What
it was during a time where conversion therapy was prominent it was a regular thing to be referring people in the Orthodox community to conversion therapy, and so it was combating that.
And is that not a thing anymore?
It's definitely still a thing.
Still happening.
But there was an organization called Jonah, which
So that's where I found out about you. That's where we
from the New York
connected.
Times
Yeah.
That is
video.
Yeah.
So,
So we'll explain Jonah, I guess.
Yeah, Jonah stands for Jews offering new alternatives to homosexuality.
I literally
I
cannot.
cannot believe
So
that.
Yeah.
okay, keep going.
I also cannot. And it was a conversion therapy organization that supported. It was mostly, I think, for Orthodox Jewish people. And at the time, it was like if you are Orthodox and queer, either you go to JQI or you go to Jonah. And some people went to both. Like there would be people who knew each other from Jonah and JQI.
I would go to both
together,
and see
yeah.
who's got hotter people and hang out.
Yeah, maybe. and those were the two top. If you Googled like Orthodox and queer, those were the top two hits.
Wow.
And now the top hit is JQI, and Jonah is.
We love that.
Yes. Jonah is no longer an organization.
Really?
At least not functioning under that name. There's like some kind of stuff going on in Israel.
Some underground railroad shipping kids off to
They're
Israel.
definitely yeah.
Okay, wait. First of all of those people should go to jail. I'm not.
No, but that's
kidding.
where
Like,
I found out
really
about Rachael and
think so.
JQI was because I read this article about Jonah and you were quoted or someone from JQI was quoted and I was like, oh, we have to talk to this person. So these are
So
crazy
first of all,
things
we
that are
have a very
happening.
close friend who was Orthodox and did conversion therapy, Danny Cohen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Why? Yeah.
I mean, okay. That aside, what happened to all of these poor children, and who are these people who are trying to do this
Convert.
thing, and why is this not against like every single principle of Judaism across the board?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there are okay, how to handle this. There are so many people who are doing this quote unquote conversion therapy under different words and names now. So like Jonah doesn't exist anymore because JQI members sued Jonah and won the case.
Wow.
Really?
They won
Congratulations.
for business fraud. I think it was like
Oh,
they
wow.
proved that Jonah promised a product that they could not deliver, and
Wow.
so that's what shut down Jonah.
Wow.
But there are many rabbis and again quote unquote therapists who are practicing things that sound like this, where they're not using the exact terminology because in many states, I think less than half of the states, conversion therapy for minors is illegal. So it's definitely not, we're not where we should be in this
Right.
regard. But different words like sexual addiction, or like helping people with unwanted sexual desires, or I don't, there's like certain key words that kind of
So how
symbolize
does
conversion
JQI
therapy.
kind of like take some of those people who are a part of that and like help them? Like, what are some of the things that you hear from kids? Because you have the drop-in center.
Yeah, we have a drop-in
And
center.
how does that work? Like, because I would imagine it might be a little scary to go to somewhere in person where someone
It
might
is terrifying. Yeah.
recognize you or see you.
Yeah. A lot of people come to JQI and they sort of circle around the block a few times before they come in, or you sort of see them like pacing back and forth outside, and then eventually they come in, or you kind of have to be like, "Hi, are you here for JQI?" and then be an extra like super extra friendly.
Yeah, it's
Well,
terrifying.
Well, that position of like who's standing at the door is so important because of that reason.
Absolutely.
We one time had a training. It was a security training of like how do we know if someone kind of sketchy is standing outside? And they were saying, well, if you see someone pacing back and forth or standing there and
You're like, "That's
staring
everyone."
across, and it's like, so you mean every JQI participant?
No, I would think like that some parents or some people trying to see what you guys are about would be the sketchy ones.
Yeah,
Someone trying to assess you is just like, should I walk in? I shouldn't walk in. That's not sketchy. That's just like scared.
yes,
Yes,
Well,
they're scared.
yeah.
I mean, you
scared.
guys are like literally saving these kids' lives. My
Yes.
Yeah.
understanding is that the suicide rate in the Orthodox Jewish community is exponentially higher than in almost any other minority community. Is that?
I don't know how it compares to other minority communities. I know that in JQI, with the intakes that we do at our drop-in center, 70% of participants express some kind of suicidality, which could mean attempts or some seriously considering suicide. And that is exponentially higher than the general population, and really than any other study that I've seen.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this and they know someone or someone themselves, how can they go to you other than obviously going to the website? And what kinds of things can you guys offer?
Yeah. So jqi.org/connect has that's a quick link to all the different resources we have. We have the drop-in center, which is in person every Thursday night. We have a virtual drop-in center that's on Tuesday nights. That was because of we went virtual on COVID, and then suddenly found actually there are queer youth around the world who need
course.
resources
Wow.
like JQI.
Of course.
And so so now we're in the middle of a national expansion, and we're figuring out how we can best support people in other places outside of the
And
New
what's
York
the
area.
main thing you're telling the kids? If there's one thing you're telling the kids, is what is it? Be proud. Don't be scared. Don't listen. What is it you're telling the youth
I think,
in a nutshell?
it's you are not alone.
Yeah.
Oh, alone. Okay.
You're not alone, and be proud of who you are. But sometimes in order to get to that, that's almost too advanced when somebody comes to JQI
Right.
to say be proud of who you are. The first step is you're not the only one like you. You thought that you were, and actually here's a room full of people who
Yeah.
all thought that they were the only ones like them.
Wow.
And now they're all together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing, and then from that there's it's called collective self-esteem, right? The idea that you can be proud to be yourself as part of a group of other people that also can be we could be
Right.
proud. It's like it's a Jewish thing too of like I'm really
Absolutely.
proud that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Jewish, and I'm really embarrassed that Madoff was Jewish.
Right.
Right, and that's
No,
collective self-esteem, and it's similar.
I always say, be a proud Jew and be you. You know, that's it. And be proud of everything Jews have done, or embarrassed by what awful things have happened. But I always like it's. I function under one premise across the board: gay, straight, Sephardic, Ashkenazi. The most important thing is to reveal Mashiach. I know it sounds nuts, and but that's the most important thing, and all these kids need to know that's their goal, that's the goal, you know, and when you find your partner or whoever your spouse, the goal is, can you reveal Mashiach with this person? If you are gay and you want to keep Shabbat, want to light candles, you can. You don't have to worry about what some rabbi who
I
thinks.
have so many thoughts.
What?
I have so many thoughts running through my head.
Okay.
Just because I wasn't also not here for the last episode where you discussed that incident on the podcast, which is probably for the best.
Right.
That I was not
That was
here
very good, yes.
because I would be foaming at the mouth. But I just, I was online handling your account through all that, and some of the things I was getting from people, I mean, a lot of it was positive, but it's just scary. And like, your kids are watching you and your kids are listening to you and they're absorbing what you're saying. And as someone who's gay and doesn't speak to their parents because of religious reasons, like, you're causing a lot of harm and a lot of hurt. And I can't even engage with anyone who thinks that being gay is a choice. If you think in 2023 that people choose their sexual orientation or their gender identity or whatever it is, I can't even engage with you past that, because you have to. Why would anyone choose that? And so then for them to say on this list of things that you mentioned, the principle, one of the things, and Christians like to do this too, is like, well, it's not a sin to have the attraction as long as you guys just don't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that
Right.
to erase a whole part of someone's sexual identity and human experience is so condescending. And for people to be dissecting what you and I may or may not be doing in the bedroom to determine what you're doing is kosher or not is so dehumanizing and so, again, just condescending. And it's really upsetting as someone who is not Jewish, but,
I
fly
understand.
on the wall.
So speaking of, we know people who've the parents didn't accept. And the child and now I'm reading books about this because we have them in the house, about people who, this is not me, but people who have just cut the parents off. Like, okay, we gave them a chance. How do you coach? Is that something you recommend to the youth?
Yeah.
If the parents are out of control and just pains in the asses and just
it's a good question. I mean, I think everything is individually. Well, okay, I'm going to take a step back for a second. I just want to say that you said what the mission of JQI is. We support and empower LGBTQ youth with a focus on specific people. But we're a mental health organization. So everything that we do comes from the standpoint of making sure that every individual who comes to JQI is physically and emotionally healthy and well and happy and can basically thrive and be their best selves. So this definitely is not a one answer sort of fits all kind of thing, but it really depends on the situation. If there is, a lot of times people can't just leave their parents. We work mostly with high schoolers, right? So our age range is 13 to 23 actually, so
right,
high school
okay.
and college. And in most cases, it's actually not an option
Viable
for people
option.
to not speak to their parents or to leave. And it's an interesting thing. We recently had a meeting with a group of Chassidic parents who some of their kids are already coming to JQI. So they're Chassidic parents who have LGBTQ or questioning youth, children, and they were like, "What's your?" They wanted to demystify JQI. What are you? What's
Right.
going on
What did you
here?
tell them?
And we talked
That's
about we're
good
a
that they
yeah,
came,
it was
right?
great. It was a
Yeah.
great conversation.
Wow.
It was great that they were willing that they reached out to us and
Totally.
wanted to talk to us about this. And they were kind of rightfully so, skeptical. What's this organization that's working with that's supporting my child without my permission? And we said, we are a mental health organization. We support and empower. And they were like, but what's your agenda? And we were like, well, like healthy and wellness, and like. Also,
who's
like
talking
No,
to
hold
these
on, let it
parents?
finish.
You are.
When they were saying what's your agenda, what do you
Yeah.
think they were saying?
I mean,
money.
is it
Money you're looking to collect? Is it
people always
No,
assume a few
it's-
things. One, that we are trying to make people not Orthodox, which is
Okay.
like really interesting and not at
Not
all part
true.
of our mission. We have
Good.
no agenda of. I always say we have no agenda. If some people love Orthodoxy and want to be like fully part of it and out as themselves, and we're like, amazing, you can be that here. And some people hate Orthodoxy and are like, I want nothing to do with it, but this is my background and my language and all of that. And so I come
So
here.
they're an autopilot, and they want to stay in autopilot on doing the mitzvot and the halacha and all
Well,
that
some
stuff.
people really love it. Like, and it's I don't know if
I'm
it's
one of them.
autopilot. Yeah,
I'm
me
one
too.
of them.
Me too.
Hi, I'm there.
Yes. I don't think it's necessarily autopilot. There's always it's actually not. They are automatically forced to fight to be part of the Orthodox community. So it's actually not autopilot. It's like upstream manual sort
Fighting.
of situation. Yeah, fighting.
within like a synagogue, like to get an aliyah, to be called up for the Torah.
It's not
or
even
to-
that. That's like I think it's a bigger picture where it's just like you are not welcome here. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
And I think that what's also interesting.
But I do want the listeners to know that it's not all Orthodox synagogues and Orthodox
it's not.
people.
It's definitely not.
The Jewish people, my synagogue is an Orthodox synagogue, Orthodox rabbi. There's separate seating. There's not like a barrier, like a wall, between Mexico and America in between. There's a mechitza, legit mechitza, and it's completely inclusive. We have gay couples, they have trans people, and it's Orthodox.
Yes, totally. And I'm part of a synagogue called the Base Community, which is similar. Sounds very similar, actually, in all those ways that you just said. But also, I think it's important to note that regardless of the policies that any synagogue has, if they don't say it out loud, often the majority of times the assumption is I would not be welcome here if people knew who I was. So it's possible that most Orthodox shuls would say you are totally welcome here. Somebody comes out and nothing would change. But if the participants don't know that, then the sort of a projected rejection, right? Then
Right. I cannot stress enough how many times I performed for a Chabad organization where I get there and the rabbi always gives you the achana, the preparation of what's happening. We have Latin people in the synagogue from Venezuela. We have Israelis. We have people who are religious, people who are not religious, and we have a few gay couples. And their children are in our school, and they're wonderful, and they are one of the best students we have in the school. And I'm like, this is it. This is Mashiach energy. This is ve'ahavta le'recha kamocha. Love your fellow man as yourself. This rabbi and this rebbitzin are treating the children of this gay couple exactly how they want their children treated at whatever yeshiva they go to.
Yeah, I think
and so it's not all horrible.
It's not. No, it's definitely not all horrible. And I always want to make sure to not overplay, to not overemphasize how amazing it is for Orthodox youth specifically, because for the majority of them, it's actually not amazing. And so I wish that every synagogue, every school, every camp were to be saying things like that.
Right.
And also I think that unfortunately we're still at a point where that's the exception and not the rule.
Yeah. Right.
And it's also interesting. It's sort of a select people who have you to perform. It means that I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that they've reached out to you to be performing for them, and you already represent some kind of diversity to them.
Yes.
Is that? I mean, I don't know.
That's changing rapidly, I think.
What do you mean? I'm
like
not
you
sure
are an out person who is performing
right.
Jewish comedy, and so
Right.
that is like you're being invited.
They already know that,
Yes.
like they're
So they're
already
already
amenable to that.
Right, they're already
Right.
sort of accepting on some level, as opposed to the youth who are obviously we're comparing apples and I don't know, cats.
I consider myself very youthful.
Okay, great. Me too. Me too.
Let's not.
Yeah. But so the schools are actually not as welcoming as the places that invite somebody in, and it's a complicated thing. So yes, it is super, like, we have really come far in Orthodoxy in many places, and even in the more right wing places, the fact that like they know that gay people exist, or that like LGBTQ people are a thing, and even when they fight against it, the fact that they're acknowledging that it's real is why you and so it's I just don't want to paint a picture that's too rosy, but I also don't want to bash Orthodoxy, because I think that there's like, it's come a long way and there's a lot more to be done.
Yeah.
The thing that's unbelievable is like, this was the worst thing in the world like 50, 60 years ago. The fact that there are like in New York 10, 13-year-old kids who have parents that are like probably my age, who are still like operating with these blinders on is so terrifying.
Listen, I see from Leo, I see the parent has to choose. Do I want to be a parent? Do I want my child, or do I want God, or whatever horrendous view they have of what God is? Because it's not. Because what is God? It's oneness. God is Shema Yisrael. There's not a Adonai Echad. Hear Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. It's not this one God saying your kid's gay, he's going to die in hell. It's oneness, being one with your child, and the parent doesn't choose. The parent's losing a child. Could you imagine giving birth 9 months? The whole you're carrying
10,
it, you raise it, and you this and that, and then you decide I don't want it because it doesn't believe in the same God I believe in.
No.
It's insane.
I'm always skeptical of people who feel like they can put feelings into God's mouth on behalf of God about specific people.
It's horrible.
Like, how do you know?
It's so horrible when people say, and what God wants is, how dare you?
Yeah.
You know how to speak for God? You have no idea. God is oneness. It's not a what God wants. It's not a person. It's a oneness. It's an energy.
Yeah.
So have you seen parents come around? Like if you...
Yes, definitely seen parents
let's
come
see some
around.
good stories. Success stories. That's what I want to hear.
Before that, though, just a quick this, and then I'll go to the success stories. But I think that with the current politics today, there is sort of a movement of, we'll call them like Fox News Jews that are.
Oh my God!
Don't start Leo off now.
Okay, it's not really religion.
We found the title.
Well, at least they found the title for the episode.
Fox News.
By all means, take it. I go for it. I think. I mean, there is this movement of like, we believe in this thing, but really, like, what text says that in Orthodoxy? Where does the Torah say that? Where do any of the rabbis say it? It's like you got on board with this type of politics, not halacha and not Torah. You got on board with it, and you were like, no, this is what religious people think now, right? And they really believe it, and I feel very strongly that that's not. I actually feel strongly that that is a form of assimilation that people are not willing to admit because it's the right being assimilated.
Well, they've been totally indoctrinated.
I agree with you. Yeah.
They've been totally indoctrinated.
Yeah, and they're assimilated into society, and they think that they're the holy religious ones, but really they're the assimilated ones. That's my opinion. But I see like more and more the radical like the comments that we get and the hate emails that we get, they're more and more extreme now than they were 10 years ago when I started getting involved in JQI. And the amount of time
that's also because they have access to be extreme. They can hit you up on Twitter. They can hit you up on
a lot of Instagram.
Back in the day,
DMs,
they had to write you a letter. I don't like what you're doing. Send you a letter to the mail.
But
post.
we've been told recently, like in the past 3 months, the amount of times that we've been told that we're going to burn in hell is like, first of all, it's not a very Jewish.
Yeah, to Jews, I was just going to say, is there a hell? Do Jews believe in hell?
No, there is no hell.
There's like a question. What is it? Whatever world to come, but burning in hell.
I will handle this question.
Oh, here comes Rabbi Modi.
There's no hell.
Okay.
You have a tikkun.
Okay.
You come back as somebody else. The goal is to finish your entire tikkun now. Bring Mashiach energy, and you do not have to come back here. You get to go to Olam Haba, to an amazing heaven.
Okay, and what if you don't?
If you don't finish your tikkun, you come back.
As
whatever you need to correct that whatever problems you had with whoever you had in your in this life now that you don't take care of, you might have to come back and rehandle that.
So I'm going to have to get married again?
I don't know.
Periel.
I don't know. Maybe you might have to marry someone whose tikkun was your sister, and then you have to make it up with them or something. There's a whole world. But relax with the hell. It's just coming back,
Correct.
but avoid
Yeah.
coming back. Bring Mashiach energy now, and so you don't have to come back. You can go to Olam Haba.
So you don't want to come back. The goal is not to come
The
back.
goal is not to come back. The goal is to go to Olam Haba. That is. Am I right or wrong? Are you with me on this a little
I'm
bit?
with you. Is this a Kabbalah thing?
It's not Kabbalah, but that's Judaism.
Yeah, but I think there are different. I've heard different opinions on this, but
You're
none
right.
of them include burning in hell.
No,
That's like I think that's the
this
point.
is the one I'm sticking with.
Yeah,
it
I'm-
works
I'm
for
on
me.
board.
If
I'm on
it works
board.
for you, take it.
I'm on board with
just
you.
every day, whatever you go through, think, is this something I'm going to have to take care of in the next lifetime?
Yeah, I
No.
love that.
What is going on
It's like
in...
Leo handles all the emails right away. I want nothing in my inbox. He wants to-do list done. But I truly believe that. And
What is
that's-
going on in Olam Haba?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'm
Okay.
working on getting there.
Okay.
But it sounds.
Is there a Prada store?
Is there a product store? I bet it's all fabulous. But that's my.
We're gonna talk about like success stories and
Okay,
Success
success
stories.
stories. And
Thank
it was
you,
the
Leah.
point of that, just to wrap, the point of that was that like it's not only Orthodox. There's like a movement of sort of going to the right and these kind. It's a complicated thing, but
No, explain. What do you mean?
that there are Orthodox Jews who aren't even so religious or so observant, but have this like Fox Newsy vibe and say that it's Jewish or Torah values, which is, I don't know.
It's
I've never-
Fox
So then they
Jews.
jump on. I'll
Yeah,
tell you,
they're on board
were
with-
yeah. It's a lot to do also with Israel and Israel's politics, and it's not an easy. Fox News Jews is not an easy.
demographic to dissect.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, definitely
Yeah,
not. It's
can't get the words
it's
out.
complex, and it's not a denomination. It's a political thing. Like
Right.
It's mixing the two, which I think is really complicated.
But these people have also been emboldened by the more recent administration. Like
Yes,
these
yes,
opinions were not so out in the open. People did not feel that comfortable saying that you're going to hell before this political movement of the past, 5-ish years, right? Where suddenly it was okay to say those things.
I'm
trying not to say Donald Trump, but that's what I'm saying. Like that became.
I don't think it.
there's
I
a
don't
divide. It's whether it's Trump or not. There's like a divide between it's like
Well, his
extremes now.
Right, but
Either
that
you're
was
burning in hell or
it's
you're
a
like
little bit like COVID. They chose a side.
right.
Yes,
Vaccine,
yes,
no
yeah,
vaccine.
yes.
Now it's the they, them, and the pronouns. Now that's another new issue we can fight about and take sides and make a mess out of.
That is, that's one of them. But Orthodoxy sort of trails behind society in like, I would say by like 10 or 15 years. So Orthodoxy is still having the conversation of like, okay, fine, gay people are here, but
Right. They'll get to pronouns in like 10
right,
years.
pronouns is not really full. I mean, there is right. They're trailing behind in that conversation, and
It's like Israel with fashion.
It's,
yeah,
okay.
kind of.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I think it's like it's interesting the politics mixed with religion.
Okay.
And how much of a mess that could be.
You must
But-
be an angel. I mean, the
No.
nightmare that you must deal with of some of these
No, but she's
people.
working on her Olam Haba.
okay. Our whole thing is like, yes, we deal with these really heavy topics and complicated, difficult things. And also, when you come to JQI, you see like neon beanbag chairs and fuzzy carpets that are also neon. Like everything is we're just like bright and colorful and happy and fun, right? Our
Yeah.
vibe is like, you come here, you belong. And not only do you belong, but you will thrive here. And we have snacks here we try to make the snacks like Olam Haba, like you said, right? Like,
Yeah.
like we want it to be known that when you come here, you don't just get like the Kirkland brand stuff.
No,
right?
so
We're not. We are like everything we do here is
not the
for
snacks.
you.
No, the snacks are the most important thing.
I'm there for the snacks.
It is. Everything is like.
When I envisioned it like that.
Can we
too.
sponsor some snacks?
Yes. No, hold on. When I envisioned like this, the drop-in center, I knew it wasn't gonna be like a shtibel.
Yeah,
like
no.
you know, like a little synagogue with the two sides and the Aron and the Torah and some riceman cakes in the package, like they could survive a nuclear war.
You're saying you did not imagine this?
I pictured it a fuzzy, yummy, rainbowy,
that is
cute.
what it's like, and it's like
Is there
everything-
somebody whose job is to be in charge of the snacks?
Yes, there is.
Amazing.
It's so
She's-
you know
and
one
she has
under-
this like
Jack
Olam Haba
Liebel
snacks. That's what
told
we
me.
call it.
Jack Liebel told me, the owner of Second Avenue Deli. He says to me, he told me, synagogues don't close down because there's no money. Synagogues close down because there's no membership and there's no lunch. That's what you have to make sure they have what to eat afterwards. Leo and I sponsor Kiddush a lot in our synagogue, and it's so important.
It really is.
It's so important.
Especially with the Jews.
Yeah.
You really have to feed them.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
So,
Well,
okay.
it's not only about the food, but that is an example of like we make things like extra amazing for these youth. And
So
we,
what's your hottest snack this?
hottest snack? Dunkaroos, I think, is like a big one. We brought them. I mean, we didn't bring them back. Whatever brand made them brought them back, and we
Yeah.
were like, we're gonna have Dunkaroos.
What's Dunkaroos?
So there's like these little, you like dip them in like cake icing, these like little cookies.
You gotta come to the
so
drop-in
good.
center. We'll
Wow,
give
you were
some
right
Dunkaroos.
on that,
Wow.
Leo.
Listen, everyone, look at me. I know my snacks.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't mess
it's
around
an
with the
important
snacks.
one.
So
yeah.
give us some success stories.
Okay, so that's just in general. Like we are like happy, fun vibes. You walk in and you are like celebrated immediately. Some success stories. I mean, we have people who have come to JQI like terrified, walking like in circles around the block, not wanting to come in, and now they're like thriving leaders of the community, and everyone is like they're like the regulars that people really look up to, and they're the ones who show other people the ropes. And then there are people where like it's actually a success story if somebody comes to JQI and then sort of stops coming slowly.
Yeah.
One time we had, because that means that they've built their community and they no longer need
Right.
it. And so that's also it's a hard way to measure success. with-
And when they say build their community, it's their circle of friends,
yeah.
a family. They built their family, and it's not wife, husband, kids, aunts, and it's their friends that they
chosen
vibe
family,
with.
yeah.
Their chosen family that they make kiddush with Friday night, and they eat and they make food and they get together. Leaving the center, leaving your that's a success
It
story.
is a form
Absolutely.
of success. Yeah. One time we had an event and the attendance was like not super great. It was like
I imagine it must be hard to like get. It's hard to get people to show up to any in-person
well,
event,
we have
let alone
we have like
this
50
like sort of
people every week at the drop-in
incognito.
center.
That's amazing.
How many?
50.
That walk in throughout the week.
It's on Thursday nights. So Thursday nights we have
Thursday.
50 people.
Wow, that's a
like,
lot.
It's a lot of people. We might have to get a new space soon.
God willing.
It's a great problem to have.
Where is the center? Just so.
Times Square.
Okay.
So in
Where's-
between Times Square and Bryant Park.
We should go one day.
We
Yeah,
should go.
you
Yeah,
totally should
What's-
come.
What's the address? Is that?
I'll tell you
we'll figure it out,
offline.
yeah.
But,
Okay.
Yeah, it's. You should definitely come.
Okay.
We'll give you Dunkaroos. You'll sit in fuzzy
Dunkaroos.
beanbags.
Dunkaroos.
My
That's just
do
supposed to
not
bring
to,
it
I
up
hate
to
to even bring this word up, but like I feel like I want to address it just because it's so in the news lately. Like back to what you said about these giving credit to those parents who came in and were like, "Hey, what's your deal? What are you doing here?" But they also asked what your agenda is. I think that's a very loaded thing that people approach this topic with because they think that anyone who's offering support or just like a soft place to land for these kids is like grooming them. And
Yeah, it's a big-
there's
yeah.
this idea that if you are gay or queer or LGBTQ whatever, you have to be miserable, alone, in silence. And that's and we don't want to hear about it. And anyone else who's offering you any sort of support or just a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on or a place to eat Dunkaroos is somehow grooming you and making you gayer,
Yeah.
or like enforcing your gayness in some way. And if there's one thing I can communicate to someone listening to this who's like, I don't know how I feel about this, is that that's not a thing. Like it's not how it works.
It's not possible.
It's not how it works.
Yeah, we talk about there's like this question comes up all the time when talking to Orthodox rabbis of like, well, what if there's a kid who's on the fence?
Yeah,
And what they mean by that is like, this kid, they might be gay, but maybe they're not. And if we acknowledge that queer people exist, then they're definitely going to go to one side of the fence.
It is so crazy that people still think that way.
So the way that I reframe it is like, actually, there are people that are on fences, but you have the sides wrong. Like what they're on the fence about is whether they stay part of this community or not.
Wow.
Like of the things they can choose, they can't choose whether they're queer or not queer. You being nice to them or mean to them is not going to make them gay or not gay,
Right.
or anything else. But
Right.
what it might do is like you being mean to someone might make them want to not be part of your community anymore.
That's a great
It may make
answer.
them want to be not Orthodox. And if you're nice to them and welcoming to them, then probably they're more likely to be on the side of the fence that wants to be part of your community.
Right.
This to me seems like the most basic, straightforward, simple thing to understand. Because if you
No.
talk to a straight person and you say, I'm going to turn you gay, any straight person is going to be like, well, that's impossible. So how is it difficult to understand that it's the same thing on the other side?
Yeah.
You can't turn somebody gay
Because it
any
makes
more than you
people
can turn
uncomfortable.
somebody. I
Right.
mean, it's insane. You can't give somebody Dunkaroos and suddenly they want to like.
The Dunkers made me gay.
I mean, they have little rainbow
They have
specks in the
sprinkles in
frosting.
them.
Yeah,
In the frosting.
definitely. But I think to what you were saying, that a lot of people are afraid of, or are very anti JQI, not because of even if they don't know anything about it. The fact that we are an organized group that
Right.
has a logo and funding
Yeah.
means that like this agenda must be happening,
Right.
as opposed to like. You could be gay, but like you said, alone and by yourself and not official.
and just don't ask, don't tell. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to talk. Like we don't want to talk about it.
So there's always excuses. Why don't they like JQI? There's an agenda at JQI. The Chassidic parents said, we know your agenda is to have our kids rebel against us. And we were like, well, your kids are teenagers and
They're gonna rebel a little bit.
you're not being like, perhaps they don't feel like you're being nice to them. Also, they're teenagers. They're unreliable narrators sometimes. We don't know what's going on in the
Right.
in the home.
house, yeah.
And but we would never say like, and you should cut off all ties with your family, because
Yeah.
probably that's not in the best it's not the best for the kid.
The most disheartening
yeah.
thing I've really kind of absorbed is that how so many people in the community think that being gay and being Jewish are two mutually exclusive things, and you
Yes.
cannot be both. And
Right.
that's been the hardest thing for me to swallow in reading these comments and DMs and blog posts about our personal life and people hinting that perhaps our marriage is for tax reasons. It's
Well,
just
that was that podcast.
well,
yeah.
he's disgusting, and you should hope I'm never in the same room with him.
Ooh,
But yeah, it's
Say more. No.
it's really frustrating.
Again,
is it taxes better if you're
again,
single?
Again, no.
No.
Well, so we have an initiative.
Thank God
that
you have Guy. Oh my
have-
God! Thank God you're married to Guy.
We have this new initiative that's called Share Your Simcha, and the reason for it is like people have a simcha, a happy occasion, some kind of like milestone event, and maybe they would want to invite the JQI participants to join, like, but that's like kind of not practical. You're not going to have the JQI teens invited to everybody's like queer wedding, or it's like that's expensive, and also who wants a bunch of teenage strangers coming to their event. But that doesn't mean that we can't celebrate those what we're calling like queer simchas with the community. So Share Your Simcha is this new initiative of like, do you have a simcha? And do you want to share it with the JQI community? Let's figure out a way to sort of recreate it, or to make an event that is,
That's so sweet.
that is related to your simcha, and invite our JQI teens to come and participate in it. And part of that, the reason for it is the tagline is celebrate queer simcha. Celebrate queer simcha today. Celebrate Jewish queerness today and envision a queer Jewish tomorrow, right? So that the idea is like, now you get to celebrate this now, which most teenagers don't get to celebrate, like a queer happy occasion. And then they can envision some kind of potential life for themselves, right? So
Right.
this is an Orthodox couple that got married, and they're both wearing white dresses with 3/4 length sleeves, right? That's like one potential future. This is there's a million different. I'm not going to list all the types. But
3/4 length sleeves.
Well, that was a
amazing.
specific
Yes.
example that happened recently.
yes,
Yeah.
but so just all so that our participants can see, queer youth can see, look at all these things that are available. Like, look at all these
Right,
potential
representation
options.
is important.
And
Yes.
we have this new thing, and we've had a few events so far. We actually have one this week. Someone had a lesbian couple. Their kid had an upshirin, which is like a haircut at age 3
Oh,
celebration. And so it already happened. We weren't going to invite all the JQI kids to it, but we're recreating this whole thing on Wednesday night. We're having this big simcha there.
nice.
But through this initiative, we've heard people say, like, I've never seen this before, and now I can envision some kind of future for myself. Or one person said to me, I know that no matter what gender I marry, at least some people will come to my wedding.
Oh my god.
And so
wow.
this like idea of you can't picture a future, you don't really know you don't have this happiness in this way around. A lot of times the queerness is like so heavy. Don't say this. Your sibling's not going to get a shidduch.
Yeah,
like
that's
all
why-
of these complicated things. And
Right.
if we can say like, but look at the celebration, come celebrate. It's,
Yeah.
No,
it's
that's
really
amazing.
It's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
You're saving lives, truly.
Saving lives.
100%. Wait,
100%.
I still want to hear a story of some nightmare parents that turned it around.
nightmare.
Because it
parents.
really, when I hear stories like that, it really gives me hope that it's possible to reach some of these people.
It is, yeah. There's an organization
You're like,
called
I don't
Eshel,
have
but- No.
Eshel, yeah.
Eshel works with parents of LGBTQ youth, and so they probably have more parent stories specifically. We actually purposely don't do parent work because we want the kids
to
to
feel
think
safe,
like
yeah.
we want them to
Yeah.
know we have your back only.
Right.
Sometimes it can feel like
Very
You're gonna
smart.
take my
parent,
Wow.
there's an agenda. You're trying, right? They
Oh,
also think
wow.
there's an agenda. You want my parents are thinking this, and they're talking to you. Like we do have family consultations with our psychologists if somebody wants, but if a kid wants and says, I want my parents to come and do this, but otherwise we purposely don't do that.
That's interesting.
And it is. There are a few things we don't do. We don't have opinions on halacha or any kind of Torah. Like, we are a mental health organization. We don't have that. That's not in our wheelhouse.
Okay.
I personally have a lot of opinions, but that's not JQI. And we don't work. We work with these youth individually,
Got
and
it.
that's
Yeah.
who our
The
target
halacha is
audience
bring Mashiach. That's all the halacha is. Whatever you're doing, do it to bring Mashiach. That's all it is.
You can come to the drop-in center and talk about it.
I will paskin in your center that all you have to do is reveal Mashiach.
Amazing.
Whether it's by lighting candles, putting on tefillin, being nice to somebody, that's your purpose as a Jew.
Yeah.
That's your purpose as a Jew. Period. That's it. If you want to learn a blot of Gemara and Talmud, and that's going to make you a better person, do it. If you're going to do it to tell somebody else, I learned this today and you didn't, not Mashiach energy. So halacha wise, if you need one halacha to work with in the center, that's what it is.
Yes, amazing.
Bring Mashiach.
I mean, we have people who come from very, very ultra Orthodox homes, and people from modern Orthodox homes, and people from Sephardi Mizrahi homes, people from Russian speaking homes, all kinds of people who come from all different kinds of communities. And we say we don't take any stances politically or halachically or anything, because we want to make sure that every person from every type of community feels like they have a place here, and like this place is meant for them, regardless of any of their opinions. So
One of the things that was in that list of 20 things, that outdated list from 2013, one thing that was right was whether you do think it's genetic that you're gay, or it's environmental, or whatever it is, you still have to treat that person with human dignity. That's one of the most important things. It's you have to treat with human dignity.
the bar is low, honey.
And when you you're saying it, you're throwing them out, whether the kid comes from a Sephardic home, a Chassidic, there's so much baggage that comes in there. Like a child coming from a Syrian home. Do you know the intensity of that with the family, and they have to buy a house next door to the mother, and it's inner, there's a lot. You're doing real Mashiach energy work.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say I'm not bashing the statement of principles. I just want to put that out there that
No,
it was a
bashing
big
it.
deal in the time
I'm
its
sure
time
it
when people
was.
signed it. It was they were really putting themselves out there to
Yep.
sign it, and I would love to see a more modern version of it.
Well, maybe you should get right on that.
Well, next, I'll put it on my to-do list.
I don't. You don't need. Again, I don't. I never think you need lists like that when there's one thing that you need to do, and that's
Sometimes people need lists.
okay.
Sometimes, they don't know how to do the one
feed
thing.
it to people.
Unfortunately,
How can anybody listening to this help the center and help you and help all these amazing kids?
Yeah, I think there are so many different things, but I mean, one thing is just like be proactively supportive in some way, which is, again, like I said before, it's hard for people who come from these communities to feel like they're not going to know that someone is accepting or welcoming or that it's okay for them to come out unless somebody says it.
Right.
And so if you don't say it, and saying it could be something so tiny, like it could be a tiny rainbow sticker that's the size of a button, right? That and to me that feels. I describe that as like, to me it feels like finding a mezuzah in Mobile, Alabama, right? Like I never felt like I was so unwelcome there fully, but I didn't think that if I said this part, and now I see that there's this little sign here, and probably nobody else will see this mezuzah.
That's amazing.
and
You're so right.
Most
So
people
good.
won't see it and won't notice anything about it, but the people who do need to see it will see it, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is a
Gotcha.
place for me and my people."
That's great. I love that.
I love that too. It's
Yeah.
an amazing.
Yeah, so that's
Muscle.
one thing, and then
An
like I mean,
amazing
definitely
example.
feel free to support JQI.
So how can they? What's the website? How can people send you money?
JQI.org. And there's
JQI.org.
JQY.
JQY.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's why I don't do these things.
JQY.org.
Yes, Jewish
Okay.
Queer Youth is what. Yes, and so that's definitely one way. I mean, just support outwardly, whether it's via funds and you want to make a donation. And by the way, there's this interesting thing of, I forgot who says that, like giving tzedakah private, like with an anonymous name is actually
Always.
a higher level
Yes.
of giving. But I always say that in JQI, giving with your name, like explicitly with your name,
Yes.
is like the highest level, because
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, don't give
That's-
anonymously to JQI.
In the Torah, it's written that when you give
Yeah.
anonymously, it's a higher.
That's actually one
Anonymous-
thing I know.
Anonymous is there's a story, but
There's a Curb Your Enthusiasm
Oh, was it?
episode about Anonymous. Yeah.
there's one joke that I always love. In the synagogue before Yom Kippur, before they do the Kol Nidre service, they raise money because now they got people are scared of being, here. Am I going to be in the book of life or death? So they do. So they have these little cards and people read their name. Schwartz family, $1,800. The Berkowitz family, $3,600. And then they have a few that say anonymous, $300 from anonymous, and then someone raises their hand. Steve Berkowitz from Berkowitz Plumbing and Lighting Supplies, $1,800. Anonymous. And so that's so you're right. Put your name down. Let them know that you support.
Yeah, put your name. And honestly, if you know anyone, tell people about the resources that exist.
Yes.
Like that, there is JQI. There's Eshel if you're for parents, and there are many resources that exist. Don't be the one who says like, I support you, but I don't know if everyone else is going to be. Don't make yourself into
That's
an island
homophobia.
the island of support thing. That's
The silent support is homophobia because you're scared of what other people are going to think of you for supporting those people.
Yes. So instead, like
unpack that.
amplify the support that exists, and be vocal about it.
Can I do
Okay.
the upcoming shows?
Please.
Okay, at the end of this month, July 30th, Modi at Sony Hall in New York City. That's sold out. August 8th, the Chosen Comedy Festival at the Coney Island Amphitheater. If you use the promo code MODI10, you'll get 10% off. That's August 8th. Modi in Baltimore, August 24th. The 7:30 show is sold out, and we added a 9:30 show. Then you have shows in Berlin, September 11th and 12th. I believe there's still tickets available for the September 11th show.
Not September 11th.
Well, we have to talk about Crystal Nacht, but that's another podcast. Then you're in Israel for Sukkot, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Herzliya, Bet Shemesh. The Paris shows October 10, 11, and 12. Those are sold out. The Brussels show on November 5th is on sale. The November 6th show in Amsterdam sold out in like less than 24 hours. Then from Amsterdam, we go to Frankfurt November 7th for the Frankfurt Jewish Cultural Week thing there. Then we leave Frankfurt. We come back to Amsterdam because we edited another show because it sold out so quickly on November 9th, which may or may not be Kristallnacht, which was... I did not know. I'm sorry. It's a lot of Jewish things to work around when planning shows, but people are still buying tickets. And then we have Modi at Town Hall, which is his biggest New York City show of the year on December 21st. Those tickets there's very, very few tickets left. And once those are gone, we might not be performing in New York for a hot minute.
Yeah,
So,
we're waiting till a year. So get tickets to the
ModiLive.com.
Most importantly, right off the bat right now, if you're listening to this, the Chosen Comedy Festival, August 8th. Make sure that last year was insane. Beyond Mashiach energy. 4,250 people laughing, all ages, all religion, all types of Jewishness, from Reform to Orthodox, Chassidic. It was Mashiach energy. So August 8th, make sure you're a part of that. And all the other shows, just go to ModiLive.com, find a show near you, find a show near your friends, send it to them. Be the friend that brings the friends to the comedy show. Mashiach energy to everybody. Thank you so much, Rachel,
Thank you
for
for
coming on
coming.
today. You
For
are
having me.
amazing, and we love you.
Thank you. Mutual.
Bye.
Bye.